Welcome to the Finding the Magic podcast, where books come alive. I'm Tricia Copeland, a fiction author and host of this show. If you love books, finding great reads, and hearing about the story behind the story directly from the authors, this is the place for you. Whether you like fantasy, science fiction, dystopian, or romance titles, I think you'll find something to love in my playlist. Listen in to discover something magical about a book or two today. Welcome, Kristine.
Hi, Tricia. Thank you very much for having me today.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. We have Kristine Jensen. She is the author of women's fiction novel, The Wednesday Club. I read the blurb and I can't wait to learn all about this. It just makes my heart warm just thinking about the premise of the story. So jump in and tell us about your characters, the story, how it came to be.
Sure. I think I'll start with how it came to be because that's kind of a fun story. So when my grandmother passed away in 1994, we were going through her things, and I found a box and it contained a bunch of books. I mean, they look kind of funky, kind of, nondescript. And it turns out that they were the minutes from her Wednesday Club, which had existed for like 65 years. There were minutes, there were programs. And so I gathered up this box and brought it back with me to California, thinking, oh, it would be great to publish all these minutes because it's kind of a time capsule of this women's club that existed for rural women for a really long time. And I started going through the minutes and realized, oh, there's like 20 years missing. And, they're interesting because the meetings were all run by strict parliamentary procedure, but really to turn them into a book of some kind, it felt kind of flat and kind of boring. And so then I thought, but what if I used the premise of this rural women's club and turned it into a novel? And what would make that interesting? And what would bring conflict into it? So I came up with the idea of what would happen if a 16-year-old city girl was dropped off at her grandparents' farm, didn't want to be there. And what would it be like if it was actually her grandmother's Wednesday Club who helped her to find a sense of home? And so that was the basic idea for the story. The women's club was the real Wednesday Club was part social. They were wanting to learn a lot about the world around them and what was happening in the world around them. They were very tuned into the community and giving back to the community. And so those were elements that I knew I wanted to keep in my novel. And I knew I had to keep the characters list smaller, not the 20 to 25 Wednesday Club members, and also keep the length of time shorter. So I chose 1963 and 1964 as the time to set the novel in. There was a lot of things happening in the world. The death of President Kennedy, the very, very beginnings of the women's movement. So how would that affect these rural women? And so that's how the that's how the novel came to be. That was a long answer to your question.
No, but it seems like I really appreciate you sharing like why you set it in 1963, because that's almost a character in and of itself, right? Like that time period and the effect it would have had on them and how that shaped what they were going through as a group too.
Very much so. And the minutes, which were sort of this amazing record of this women's club, and that they kept these formal minutes. I wanted to really preserve that in the novel as well. And so the 13 months of the novel are punctuated by the minutes of that month's Wednesday Club. So they start in August in September 63 and go through August of 1964. And I made up the minutes, of course, but I kept them true to what was happening in those meetings. So
Okay, interesting. So was that like during that time period, was that the 20 years you lost
it
or
was, it
okay.
absolutely was. Those years were missing, but they did this really cool thing where they had these programs, and they had this creed which they recited every year, and the program showed me like what was the roll call topic and what was the program that they were going to be talking about at that time. And so that kind of gave me a basic structure for what might have been happening. And then, of course, I made some of it up too, pulling from like the most interesting things that I had read about in those 65 years.
Interesting. And did you do research into like local area happenings or things that happen like locally to them to add those to the books as well?
I did, and I was just a little tiny girl in that time period, so I didn't. There was a lot of research I had to do. My mom is still alive, and she was able to remember a lot of things like that. She found this kind of treasure trove of these. They were called coffee clatch, and they were these Midwestern magazines that had pictures and things that people were talking about in Iowa, which wasn't quite South Dakota, but close enough. I went through Sears catalogs and women's magazines to find out, what were the products they were using and what were people dressing like. And so it was, with historical fiction, you can get kind of lost in the research, but it was really fun.
That's neat. And so Ivy is your main character and she's 16 years old. The is it told through her point of view or is it a third person point of view?
I actually have six points of view, multiple points of view. Though Ivy is the protagonist, and she certainly has the most chapters, and it really is kind of her story. But in addition to that, there are five Wednesday Club members who each have their own chapters and their own character arc and what is happening to them. I really liked the idea of exploring the notion of intergenerational friendships. And so the Wednesday Club characters range in age from their 20s to their 60s. I think I have a character in every decade. Um, and two of them are sisters, who are very different personalities. They all have very different personalities, and they're all going through um, conflict in their lives in one way or the other. So it was fun to sort of tease that out and see how their character progresses, but also to see how they support one another and how they support Ivy as she goes through this period where she absolutely hates being there, is friendless, can't believe she's stuck. Well, how she is drawn into the Wednesday Club is that her grandmother kind of talks her into being a temporary secretary, taking minutes at the club, and she doesn't really want to do it, but she reluctantly agrees. And she thinks they're just the most ridiculous kind of fuddy-duddy characters. So it's interesting to see how they come to help her in different times during that period as she goes through different crises. And they're all going through different conflicts and crises as well. So it was fun to map that out and to see how they all grow and change.
What an amazing story it seems like you woven. It's just, yeah, I'm buying copies for all my friends.
Oh, thank you. It's been really fun, seeing the reactions of readers. Definitely people who know rural America or grew up on a farm, they love it. It brings back a lot of memories for them. what's really been surprising is how many people who really don't know anything about farm life, and men are also like really enjoying this book. I really didn't expect that at all. Um, it's just, and it's been really so fun hearing from them. I had a really incredible experience last week. I had an email from a woman who's 94, living in Texas, and she said, I think that my mom and aunt were in that Wednesday club. And so I looked it up in the first, in the first book in 1927. And sure enough, it turned out her mother was a founding member of Wednesday Club.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, that is
and
so amazing.
it
That's
was
such
really
a
cool.
great connection. That is
It
really
was really
sweet.
fun. We had a great phone call yesterday, and her mom died when she was just 4 years old. And she didn't know there were a lot of things that she didn't know about her mom or what had happened to her. And we were able to actually kind of piece a few things together from the minutes from the first 3 years that her mom was in that club. So that it's like history coming to life, it was really fun. So that's been
What an amazing gift to be able to give that woman. Oh my goodness, I'm tearing up. Okay.
it
And
was heartwarming. It
I
was like it was a really special time. Yeah. And she has some photos she's gonna send me, and I'm sharing some photos. And so yeah, it was great.
neat. And I was looking on your website, it said you could is joining the club just in your newsletter, or how does that work?
Well, what I'm trying to do is inspire people to start some kind of a version of a Wednesday club on their own. One of the things that was clear to me as I was looking at the minutes and thinking about Wednesday Club is this importance of community for women. It was important for these more isolated rural women. It's important for us, whether we're going through moving to a new city, feeling isolated when our kids go off to school or our kids really leave the nest. How do we find connection? And what is it that women can do together in community? So that got me thinking about a Wednesday Club movement. Not not to try to recreate these Wednesday clubs like with the parliamentary procedure meetings and that kind of thing, but how can they be different and look different for us today? So whether it's a book club or it's a history club or a hiking group, or how can we meet particularly in person and find connection with one another? Because I totally believe in the power of women's friendships. And so um, there's a couple of blogs on there about how to start a Wednesday club of your own. You definitely don't have to call it a Wednesday club. But the Wednesday club, inspired that for me. Um, I'm not in a Wednesday club, but I'm in a writing group. We call ourselves Saturday Sisters. And we are definitely like a major support group for one another. We make sure that we meet in person. And I think there are just a multiple of ways that women can start their own Wednesday clubs.
That's really neat. Yeah, I have so many friends of different ages, and it's been very valuable for me to have people that were either my mother's age or my grandmother's age, or even people that are younger, that I'm getting different viewpoints, and those relationships are so meaningful for me. And even when my grandmother's alive, she was a big writer, so we always wrote to each other.
Oh, how
And I
wonderful.
kind of miss getting cards now. Like she would write me
Yeah.
every month and I'd write her back up every month. And just having those connections of those generations, I think can be really important.
I think so too. And that grandmother granddaughter relationship is can just be like so amazing and so wonderful.
Yeah, your grandmother doesn't have to tell you everything you're doing wrong.
Exactly. I'm not a grandmother yet, but I'm looking forward to that day.
I was looking on your website too, and you talk a little bit about indie publishing versus traditional publishing and that decision for you. Talk to me a little bit about that.
I was very convinced that I was going to find a traditional publisher. And I think it came about during a women's writing retreat that kind of kicked off this whole thing, and then a second writing retreat where I was further along in the writing. And I got this idea that my book was very commercial. And I was really excited about that. And I was like, okay, great. I'm gonna beat those odds and I'm gonna get an agent. And I queried for a long time. I queried for 2 years. I got really close a couple of times. I got some lovely, love it, but I don't think I can find the audience for it. I got standard rejections. I got ghosted. I got all the things that an author gets when they're querying. And I told myself that I would go for 80 rejections, and then I would kind of rethink and go to plan B, which was small presses. I got to 80 rejections and I moved on to small presses, and I had even less. I got more ghosting there. And my mom is 84. And one of the things that I really, really wanted was for her to be able to see this book, which celebrated her mother's Wednesday Club. I wanted her to see this book in print. And I realized that at 84, her age, I was kind of running out of time. Even if I got an agent, could they sell it to a publisher? And I also was kind of learning more about how the industry was changing and the need for authors to do a lot of their own marketing, which was something I didn't want to do and a reason to get to go the traditional publishing route. I work full time as a marketing writer, and the last thing I wanted to do was like more marketing for my own book. But with my mom's increasing age, I just thought it's important for me that this be a book, and that this be a book that I can dedicate to her and I can give to her. Like I want that. And so I started learning about indie publishing and just decided to make it happen. So I learned as much as I could about it, set a 5-month goal and a plan, and published the novel in the middle of July. And at the beginning of August, when me and my aunt and cousin met for a girls getaway, I was able to give her that book with her dedication in the front and see her happiness in that and just her thrill. And it that made everything worthwhile. So I'm happy with my decision. There you have it.
That's amazing. Yes, I think a lot of authors have been through that same struggle of querying and agent finding, and some do. It's funny because as soon as I saw the book, I thought this is a traditionally published book. Just the title, the cover, everything looks like I would have expected came from Penguin. And then I was like, oh wow, she's an indie author. That's so cool. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter how you get there as much anymore, I don't think. And yeah, your website is so inviting and so wonderful. So I think and I can see this like on Netflix or the Hallmark Channel or something. Like it seems like it could just be a series about this whole town and these women getting together and meeting up and talking about current events. And helping their community and all these things. I can just see it in my head. So yeah.
I can see it. I can see it too. My background, I worked for years as a video writer, and I think that, and I've written 3 screenplays, and I think that as I was writing the book, I think I write in scenes. And so for me, like, I can totally see this as a movie or a mini series. I am starting to work on a sequel to this book, set in 1969 when Ivy is um, in college, and it's really a different time in the world out there. And I'm thinking about maybe turning the novel into a screenplay and seeing if I can get some interest there. But of course, that industry is is just as hard as the book industry. So who knows?
Yes, it
We
is.
write because we love to write. There's just nothing else to be said about it.
Yeah, that's interesting that you do marketing writing and you were like, no, I don't want to market write my own books because
Well,
I had to learn marketing writing to to pimp out my own books. So yeah.
yeah. I have a pretty demanding job as a copywriter for a high-tech company and doing marketing writing. And so I wrote the book in the early mornings before going to my job. And so I think that I just thought, who wants to do more of their job after their job, right?
Right.
But the truth is, I'm finding this to be very different kind of marketing. And um because of the direct feedback from readers, it's made it a lot more fun and a lot more gratifying to hear back from readers and what it is that resonates for them. So I'm okay with doing them. It's not my favorite part, but I'm okay doing the marketing now.
Well, if you can cut and paste a review of someone that loves it, that works great, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it sounds like you do have a sequel in the works. Do you have a working title for that yet?
I don't. I'm kind of toying with the idea of next Wednesday. I want to try to keep the Wednesday in there somehow, but I'm not settled on that for sure.
Yeah, we'll find that. What is the timeline?
I don't have a timeline. It took me so long to write this one, and I'm hoping that I've learned enough that I can shorten that process. To be honest, I'd be really surprised if I get it done in less than 2 years. I know that's a long time, but I'm still working, and
Yeah.
it takes time.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother era of research about current events and the time and what they were, how they lived then. So yeah, I can
Exactly.
imagine.
I think the thing that will save me time is that I really, really know these characters now. They're really a part of me. I know their backstories. I know how they talk. Um, I know how to write their point of view. So I think that that will really help me. Ivy will be 5 or 6 years older, so she's going to be changed. She's going to be no longer a teenager, but a young woman. So it'll be interesting to see how her character evolves. The other older ones will evolve as well, but maybe not as much.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, if she's protesting for peace on college campus or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, super fun. Kristine, tell everyone where we can find you and your books.
Sure. So my website is wednesday-club.com. And you can sign up for my newsletter. You can also push a link there with instructions about where to buy the book. But I'm on Amazon. I'm on bookshop.org. I'm on barnesandnoble.com. So one of those places is a great place to buy the book. The book is a part of Kindle Unlimited. So if you're a part of that, it's free. And I've tried to keep the price of the book and the ebook low because I really just want to get the book out there. So that's my main goal.
Well, thank you so much. Like I said, it's on my Christmas list for all my
Oh,
friends.
thank you
So,
so much. I love
yeah,
that.
Kristine Jensen, thank you for being here, and we'll have you back next time when you have the next Wednesday, maybe.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. It's really been a
Bye.
pleasure talking with you.
You too.
Bye-bye.